In today's video, I continue playing in my Mangrove Swamp world, playing for another 100 days and bringing the total up to 200 days. I have big plans for this episode, so I spent the first couple of days doing the basic things that I need to do to get ready for the episode. Then I just spent a while cutting down trees, because I was planning on making a huge build there, and I needed to clear a plot of land. Obviously I'm going to use a lot of mangrove wood for the build, but I also need some other materials, so I had to spend a couple days gathering those as well. When I returned to the plot of land, I saw that second frog that I had spent a while looking for in the last episode. I tried to breed them with the magma cream, but that didn't work, so the internet lied to me. But anyways, after that I decided to build the entrance because that was kind of the beginning of the mansion, and then I worked on the outline of the mansion, and then worked up to the details, and when I was doing that I saw a wandering trader come by, completely out of the blue, and I realized that that would be a good way to get some things that I would definitely not be able to get otherwise. So I went in actually to check for emeralds, but forgot that I'm poor and obviously I have no way of getting emeralds, but I wanted to see what the trader was selling anyway. He had some interesting things, mainly that spruce tree, but I didn't have any money, so I just killed him for his leads and called it a day. Later, when I was making a new axe and running back and forth from my house, that llama that I had kept from the wandering trader kept spitting at me, and I'm pretty sure the only way to make that stop is if I die. So hopefully I won't die to that llama, but eventually when I do, he'll stop being mad at me, I hope. I kept building the mansion for the next few days, and then I wandered around for a little bit to find a beehive because my other bees had disappeared. The bee that I had brought back got stuck on the trapdoor, and I thought that might have been, for some reason, what despawned my other bees, so I destroyed it. I was going to work on my mansion again when I realized that I would have to get a villager if I wanted to have any glass to build my mansion. So I stayed out that night looking for one. It was a really bright idea, but instead I just found a whole bunch of other mobs and almost immediately died to a creeper. So I decided to go mining instead because obviously I needed better tools and armor. The diamonds that I found I silk touched so I could make a tower and break them like all the cool YouTubers do, and I spent a long time down there for the number of diamonds that I found. While I was down there, I also collected some other blocks for the mansion, and I had to get some redstone too to fix my melon farm. Finally, when I returned to the surface, I broke the diamonds with my Fortune 3 pickaxe, and the first one gave me 1. But in the end, I got 9 out of 5 blocks, which wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad, so I continued on. I made a diamond helmet and some boots. Then I went outside to look for a villager, and of course I died to a creeper again. At this point, I realized I was stupid, and I have a zombie spawner downstairs, or underground, that spawns zombies, and sometimes I think it can spawn zombie villagers. So I spent a while killing zombies, hoping to get a zombie villager. Then a chicken spawned with a baby zombie on it, and I put it in a boat so it would stay. But before I could replace the block, a baby zombie dropped down and it killed me. After a while of killing zombies, I gave up and started working on the ground floor of the mansion. I got a lot done in this session of building, and I continued onto one of the towers. This is the tower that I plan on moving my enchanting table to once it's finished. And speaking of enchanting, I enchanted my armor with some kind of mediocre enchantments. So I went to my zombie spawner to both try and find a villager and get more levels. Finally, once I got to level 36, I went back up having not found a villager, but I did find that my skin didn't load, so I am Steve now. But I also enchanted my boots with Feather Falling 4 and my axe with Unbreaking 3, which also gave me Silk Touch, and I enchanted my helmet just to refresh the enchanting table. I then went into the caves in search of a zombie villager. I actually found one in this mess of mobs, and I accidentally blew up both of the creepers, and the villager survived. So I tried to lead it out, but I almost died to a skeleton, so I ran away, and the villager died, so I had to keep searching. But I didn't find another one, and I spent quite a few days down there. I did, however, find some more materials for the build, and that led me to another session of working on the mansion, and still looking for villagers at night. Then I led that chicken from the zombie spawner all the way up through the bubble elevator, just for me to run away from a creeper that was lurking outside my tower for some reason, and when I came back the chicken was nowhere to be found. So I did some basic chores, and then I went down into the caves and I destroyed all the torches in an area so that mobs spawned, and I killed everything that wasn't a villager until eventually I found one and put it in a boat. But I needed to make a potion, and I didn't have any glass because that was why I was getting the villager in the first place, so I needed to drink the potions that I had traded for with piglins in the past just to get the bottles, which means that I am fire resistant now. Yay. I was able to make the fermented spider's eye with the sugar that I got from killing a witch, and I went back to cure the villager and led him back up to my melon room. I tried to make him a librarian, but he decided to be a farmer, which was actually better because I realized I wouldn't be able to trade paper to a librarian for emeralds. I traded with the farmer a couple times, and then I went back down into that cave and used the same method to get another villager, which I also cured and led upstairs. But when I moved the beds around, the farmer decided to try and walk outside, and he got converted by the zombies through that little corner. And of course the farmer turned my other villager, and then they both killed me. So my bed was destroyed, and I spawned on top of that trusty mangrove tree, and I died so many times trying to get all my stuff, and I was eventually able to get them both into a boat. But I had limited bottles, so I only had enough potion for one of them, so I had to go trade with a piglin again to get more bottles and kill a spider again to get that spider's eye. But while I was doing all that, I found a slime and I got 5 slime balls. And also I died again. but when I returned to my house, I had to painstakingly try to separate 2 villagers. Luckily, I had 2 sugars from the witch, and I made the potions and cured the villagers again. The other villager became a librarian, and I broke that lectern until I got an okay trade, and I traded my books. Then I went into the mine shaft to get some string to turn to wool so I could make myself a bed. That number of beds was also good for breeding the villagers, so I tried to do that, but they kept running around in that corner, and I don't know why. So I decided to keep building the mansion. When I returned, the villagers still hadn't bred, so I decided to rearrange their beds, because I think I heard somewhere that it was a thing where it had to be 3 blocks tall, and I don't think it was. And I think that was actually the trick, because eventually they bred. The following days were just a whole bunch of just building and trading. Enough time had passed that the baby villager grew up, and I made him a shepherd. That means that I would eventually be able to trade him for beds. I then worked on building up the villager hall part of the mansion so I could move my shepherd over. Every time I went back into my house to go to bed, I checked the librarian trade, and eventually I unlocked the book trade. And because I cured him twice, I created a money loop. While I waited for the trade to refresh, I kept doing a bit more work on my house, and I moved the shepherd into a temporary stall that I had made him. And I forgot to replace a trapdoor that was above my door on my house, so the farmer and the librarian escaped, which was fun. Then I remembered that I had slime balls, so I made a temporary home for my frogs, which is temporary, I swear, and I bought 2 name tags. I carefully broke the boat that my frog had been in since the beginning of time and led it into its habitat. I went to the river to capture another frog, and I brought it back. Of course, I named my 2 frogs Wednesday and Kermit. What else would you name your pet frogs? And then I bred them with the slime balls, but it didn't create any frog spawn, and I didn't know why, and when I tried to breed them again, it wouldn't let me. So instead, I went to my other new pet, the llama. Since I had died before, it wasn't mad anymore, so I tried to befriend it, and after a while, I was able to put a different color of carpet on it. One of the trades that I had with the shepherd was for purple wool, so I made a purple carpet, but I forgot that a purple carpet does a weird Enderman pattern, and it's kinda creepy, so I decided to try black because that was the other thing I could trade for, and it still had a little bit of purple in it, so I left it. I worked on my mansion a little bit more, but you've seen a lot of that already, so I'll cut to when I checked on my frogs, and they actually spawned a whole bunch of tadpoles, even though there wasn't any frog spawn, so I don't know what happened there, but I got them into buckets, and I named them Frog, Bean, Dave, and Cassandra. Beautiful. I then went exploring in the caves because I wanted to find either a lush cave or maybe the deep dark biome. I don't know why I was in the mood to die, but I went exploring anyway. However, I didn't find either, but I did find some diamonds and a fossil which I've only seen like once in a cave before. After a while, I realized I was lost, so I just tried to reach some higher ground, and I found another fossil. I stopped to look at it because I thought it was weird that I had seen 2 already and I hadn't ever really seen one before. When I finally reached the overworld again, I realized I was completely lost, so I had to stop and pool all my resources to make a compass to get back. That delay of getting lost meant that I wouldn't have enough time to do that much on my mansion, so instead I decided to spend the rest of my time with a villager that had spawned and grown up while I was away. This villager was a librarian despite only having 1 lectern between the 2 of them, so I tried to separate the 2, but when I broke the lectern, the villager kept trying to connect to my brewing stand. I was going to comply with his wishes and move him into the tower, but then the sun was setting on the 199th day. So that brings us to the end of the video. I think this might be a little bit shorter of an episode, but it was because I have spent a lot of time either underground or building a lot of the mansion. I will definitely continue this series in another video. Next time we will be playing, bringing our total to 300 days. I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I'll see you later.